Welcome back, everybody. Carl Schmidt and I to tell you a little bit more about the Framemaking sale as we continue to break down the book across a series of these videos. And today, Carl, we thought it'd be great to share a little bit more information on a concept near and dear to many organizations and sales leaders' hearts, which is this idea of multi-threading, a term that many will know and some may not, which is just the idea of how do I do a better job of connecting all those many customer stakeholders, not so much to us, but to each other, such that they are in a better position to make a collective decision. And that's where I think things start to fall apart. At least we hear from heads of sales, right? Is that sellers lack, if not the ability, they certainly often lack the confidence to go have those conversations on their own, right? So what I want to share with you today is sort of techniques to do that. The way you and I kind of come at it is really less as a selling problem or a selling challenge and more of a buying challenge.
And that's where, if I think back to the so many of the conversations we're having right now with various sales leaders as they're bringing us in to do their sales kickoffs or do workshops for their team, et cetera. This challenge that they're trying to address in terms of making their sellers more confident to have these conversations, not just with that main point of contact, but to elevate it, and to get again the broader buying group on board. And this is where one of the things we really focus on in the book is this idea of the relationship between objectives and tactics and how they just naturally ladder. Where for any of us in an organization, whoever our boss is, and whether we're the CEO and that's the board or the investors, or that's the most junior person on the team, whatever our objectives are, inherently that's our manager's tactics. So the what objective they're trying to achieve turns into a series of steps or tasks or activities that they then have, are the tactics that they delegate to the people under them to get after.
So at a high level, an objective is essentially what are you trying to do, and a tactic is how are you trying to do it, right? But once I get into a tactic, how am I trying to do that? That becomes my objective. This is almost like the five hows, isn't it?
And just appreciating that that's the dynamic of what's going on can help connect a given customer point of contact to their boss, their boss's boss, and all the way up, which then increases their confidence to have those conversations, which then again also changes the dynamic for the seller and thus correspondingly increases their confidence as well.
The whole idea of frame making is to the posture that you're taking on as a seller is essentially as a buying coach or a decision coach, guiding your customer stakeholders through this really complex decision making journey that they're on to make a purchase. And this is where I think it becomes incredibly valuable, not just to equip the seller to cut that person out and climb their way to the corner office and have that conversation instead, which is kind of what we're all trying to do, but rather to help those stakeholders connect to each other, begin to see how these objectives and these tactics interlock with each other, and such that it's not one, many different things they're trying to do, but one thing all tied together.
At the core of this, instead of thinking about, this stakeholder has this discrete objective, right, that matters most to them, and this other part of this other person in the buying group has this other objective, and then their boss's boss has this. Again, rather than being all these discrete individual items that feel chaotic and disconnected, by using this laddering technique that again is a classic example of framing, you then connect these things and you relate them through the five hows as you described. And as we've done these exercises related to laddering in our workshops, then that aha moment when a seller who may be working a particular account where there's two individuals that are just struggling to align their objectives to get a deal across the finish line, when they start using this technique and actually entering, all right, this is this level tactic which relates to this objective, and work their way up and down, and all of a sudden like, wow, it makes so much sense. It just, the light bulb clicks on for them in a way that you can immediately translate that relationship from the seller as to now how they're going to go out and engage with that customer in a different way to help those two parties or whoever they have access to appreciate what's the other person thinking and how they actually.
And so what you can do using these laddering techniques that we're talking about is you can ladder up to a common point where two things that seem very, very different actually turn out to be parts of the same sort of objective. And that's where you begin to find the connections that allows you to multi-thread. It's about finding ways to connect those people to each other, not in their love for you or their perception of your value, but in their common understanding of what they're trying to do in the first place. And that's really where frame making can be incredibly helpful. Hope this helps.